Today we're gonna talk about the revealed skill sets of Siobhan and Erica. So this time around Mr. Dog was a bit slow, but let's still take an in-depth look at the revealed skill sets of these two new characters. But before we do that, I do have to one last time tell you to be there on Thursday or tomorrow, depending on when you are going to watch this video. So the live stream for the day 1 rolls, day 1 live analysis is going to take place Thursday, 6 hours after the maintenance. So turn on the reminder and be there. And if you really like my content and want me to produce even more scuffed Alchemy Stars content, then maybe even think about becoming a channel member, which also gives you access to these perks. But enough of that, let's get right into these brand new and hot infos about the two newest characters, Siobhan and Erica. And let's start this party off with everyone's favorite Spider-Woman, Siobhan, who is also our newest 6-star forest converter. And of course she's a converter, even though I was waiting desperately for a new one. Forest wouldn't have been my first choice because they already have hero. But let's just ignore that for now and look at the most important part of every converter's kit, the active skill. This active skill called Spider Domain has a CD of 3 and Preemptive Strike, but as usual keep in mind this is the MBT version, so Preemptive Strike is with a 99% chance a breakthrough. If I had to guess, then I would say Breakthrough 3, just like Bethlehem. And while we're already at just like Bethlehem, her active skill actually also converts 4 tiles, but because she is a spider-like woman, fast and speedy and sticky, she converts them into either a spider web form or a spider string form. So a 2x2 mini cluster or a 1x4 line. So yes, this is basically scuffed Bethlehem for forest. But while I'm saying scuffed, that doesn't have to be the case, because often enough just converting a cluster of 4 tiles or a line can already be enough. For example, when you just wanted last few tiles to completely surround the enemy in green tiles for burst teams, for example. So where this looks a bit scuffed at first, it's actually quite decent and not too bad. You can basically just imagine her as Spider-Man, throwing out either a spider web string when you need to get to a certain place, or just straight up throwing a spider web into the enemy's face to just completely demolish them. And that was actually not the end of this active skill, because the 2 selected tiles, so the start of the 1x4 or 2x2 cluster and the last tile to confirm the form of this conversion, are actually going to be converted into enhanced tiles, getting Siobhan also some more synergy with our Lord and Savior hero. So that's actually quite nice, and gives her even more reasons to maybe find a place in your burst team featuring hero. And that's still not the end, because there's one last sentence, and if you think back to some of my old first look videos, you know if there's a last sentence that's just added on by Mr. Dog that doesn't seem to be right at home, then that's very likely to be MBT. And this actually reduces the active skills cooldown by 1 when you hit 15 chain combos during Aurora time. And I think that this is once again a slip up by Mr. Dog, because that's hopefully mistranslated. This has to be either 15 tiles in Aurora time or 15 normal attack combos, because imagine doing 15 chain combos in 1 turn, which is technically possible, but I don't think that would be worth an MBT slot. So yeah, I think this is just mistranslated, and we will see if this is actually MBT and if this is correctly translated when we test her and pull her hopefully on day 1. And her chain combo is quite simple. It's just a global sniper chain, but not exactly. It's actually kind of a weird mix between a limited and a global sniper chain. It doesn't have the usual 3 surrounding cluster range that limited ones have, but it also has the nearest enemy targeting that normally global chains have. So this is actually not too bad, because the last chain can actually hit all enemies within 4 surrounding clusters, which is basically the whole field. Like, who cares about the rest? But of course her stats aren't that great, so she's mainly there to provide that conversion, and also with her equipment some shields, because this web shield makes this Spider-Woman a force to be reckoned with in combination with the Avengers, because this lets you gain web marks whenever you pass a green tile, or free marks when you pass the enhanced one. This stacks up to 99 times, and you clear all stacks you have when you take damage and gain a shield equal to 15% of Siobhan's defense for every stack cleared. And that's not all. If you had 10 or more spider bites, then this actually gains also an additional shield equal to 15% of Siobhan's HP when you gain the shield from the initial marks. So Siobhan gives you huge shields when you go through these tiles, once again kind of solidifying her place in these heavy conversion teams, so ideally together with a cross converter in a burst team, but we can't forget that you are going to lose quite the damage if you run her alongside Sakara, because both are sniper-like converters and have not the best attack stats. But of course you have area and you have hero, so that kind of equalizes this fact. And having this shield is actually quite nice for extra survivability, and you know what? Siobhan is actually quite insane. On paper, in her MBT form, she is a contender for core, but at BT0, that's another thing, because we do have to see her breakthroughs first, because that kind of makes or breaks if she's just gonna end up strong like someone like Bethlehem, especially if her base CD is 4, similar to her as well, or if she has preemptive at MBT instead of BT3, we will see. Best case scenario is preemptive on BT3 and MBT for the Aurora Time edition. Else, this skill is actually completely fine. In addition, with hero on the team, you don't really need the freedom to choose any tile on the field. I think the spider shooter is good enough in combination with someone like hero, and of course also another converter, to completely entangle your foes into a web of enhanced green tiles. And that's perfect for Forest, so she looks to be at least strong, and she has some potential to be core, depending on how her breakthroughs are going to look. If her base CD is 4 or 3, we will see. But if you need a green converter, you might as well roll on day 1, but I would actually advise, like usual, to wait for some days for people to test these characters, for example me on my live stream, and then you can decide if you truly want her or not. But of course, if you are rolling for non-gameplay related reasons, go for it. I can completely understand. Siobhan looks amazing. Definitely my favorite Spider-Man in the whole MCU. And that brings us to our second character on this event banner, the 5-star Thunder supporter Erica. And yeah, her stats don't look too bad, and her active skill Pentagram Retaliation, similarly to Siobhan, has a CD of 3 and preemptive strike at max breakthrough. This lets you attack in any direction and deals 210% damage to all enemies along the path, and also adjacent tiles, while also paralyzing one random enemy in that path. And because that just wasn't enough in Mr. Dog's opinion, she also resets all non-yellow tiles in the hit range. So she has basically a Kana-like skill or Kafka-like skill, but it's a lot more stacked, because you paralyze an enemy, which is quite nice versus awakened foes, and you also reset for no reason at all. But maybe the reset is the MBT? Preemptive is basically confirmed to be BT3 like usual, at least that's what I think it is, but the reset, that added sentence, looks a bit sussy baka. So yeah. That might actually be MBT, which would be quite disappointing, because I think Thunder could make use of a resetter. And yes, especially because her chain combo Unknown Electro Wave is a column chain, but, I do have to say this one time, it actually makes sense. Because if we look at her equipment Paranormal Thunder, this increases her own damage by up to 4% when hitting enemies that are on yellow tiles for every single cluster that are between her and that said enemy. And also increases all Thunder Aurorian teammates' damage by 50%? Yes, your eyes are not betraying you, but Mr. Dog probably is. Because there's no way that this is actually a 50% damage bonus just like that. No way. And if we actually look at the JP translation, then there's actually no mention of 50%, but instead a mention of her giving an attack buff that's worth half of the buff she gave herself, so in that case it would be up to 2%. So, who is in the right here? I don't think Mr. Dog is up to power creep that hard, so that's probably just a mistranslation. If it isn't, Erica is broken, I can tell you right now. If this is one for one what she actually does and not mistranslated, which we actually do have to check in-game and also in actual gameplay to make sure that it isn't also mistranslated in-game, then she's completely busted, but else she is just okay. And resetter for Thunder's decent. She buffs their team by a decent amount, 4% for every cluster for herself, 2% for the team, so she can still provide a decent enough attack buff even without this mistranslation. But we can only flip a coin to find out who is right, Japan or the rest of the world. But I am 99.99% sure that this is just wrong and that Mr. Dog's intern did an oopsie. So we will see. Same thing with Siobhan's Aurora Time Edition. I think this time around someone screwed up somewhere. And that's basically it. My first impression of these characters is on paper, which obviously can change after I find out how they actually work in actual gameplay on the first day be there. Siobhan looks at least strong, has potential for core. Erica is decent, she's probably around solid. And if that equipment is actually not mistranslated, then she's just busted. But as usual, don't roll on day one, wait for someone to test them out first. So that was all from me. Make sure to be there on the live stream tomorrow or on Thursday, depending on when you watch this video. And make sure to think about joining the membership if you really like my content. Join the Discord, and also a huge thanks to all of my channel members. I love you guys a lot. So that was all from me. Have a nice day and see you next time or in the live stream.